I'm going to keep this straightforward because I know a lot of you are sitting on the fence, wondering if a high-end spotting scope is worth the price tag or if you'll end up with a piece of glass you never pull out of the bag. I've spent a few evenings actually setting up a Leupold Mark IV 124,060mm black Tremor 4 on my own tripod, reading the manuals, and scrolling through the handful of Amazon reviews that are out there. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What follows is the kind of honest, day-to-day take you need to decide if this scope belongs on your shelf or not. First, let's talk about the kind of situation where a spotting scope like this shows up. I'm a weekend birdwatcher who lives near a coastal marsh, and my most common setup is a sturdy 3-leg tripod, a weatherproof jacket, and a pair of binoculars that get me through the quick scans. When a rare waterfowl shows up or a hawk circles a thermal, I reach for the scope to get that extra detail. The Mark IV's 1240 magnification range is generous enough that you can start at 12 for a quick locate and then crank up to 40 when you've got the bird in the center of the field. The 60mm objective lens gathers a decent amount of light, and the DiamondCoat 2 treatment on the lens surfaces really cuts down on glare when the sun is low on the horizon. In the evenings I've been able to pull a clear view of a nightjar's plumage even when the sky is a deep indigo. What many people worry about is whether the extra magnification will make the image shaky or whether the scope will be a pain to mount. Leupold built a 1/420th rotatable tripod adapter right into the front of the scope, which means you can twist the scope into place without having to use a separate mounting ring. I found that once the adapter is tightened, the whole assembly feels solid. There's no wobble even when I give the tripod a gentle nudge. The rotatable feature also lets you pivot the scope horizontally without having to relevel the tripod, which is a small convenience that adds up during a long day of watching moving subjects. Now for the practical strengths that actually matter once you have the scope in your hands. The first is durability. The claim of being 100% waterproof and fogproof isn't just marketing fluff. I've taken the scope out after a rainstorm, wiped it down, and it still gave a clean view. The internal nitrogen purge that Leupold uses prevents internal fogging, which is a real problem for cheaper scopes when the temperature swings quickly. The second strength is the optical clarity at high magnification. Many scopes start to lose contrast or become grainy past 30, but with the DiamondCoat 2 coating the colors stay surprisingly true even at 40, which is useful for identifying subtle field marks on a bird or the texture of a distant ridge. On the flip side, there are a few trade-offs you should be aware of before you click Add to Cart. The scope weighs just over 5 pounds, and while that's typical for a 60mm model, it does mean you'll need a sturdy tripod. A flimsy or cheap tripod will start to shake noticeably at the higher magnifications. I tried a budget tripod I already owned, and at 35 the view was jittery enough that I had to drop back to 20 for a usable image. That's not a flaw in the scope itself, but it does add an extra cost if you don't already have a good tripod. Another practical weakness is the eye relief. The eye relief sits at about 20mm, which is fine if you wear glasses and can get close, but it can feel a bit tight if you have a larger face or need a bit more breathing room. I had to adjust my head position a few times to get a full field of view, something that isn't a deal breaker but worth noting if you plan to use the scope for long periods. The question of value is where the rating of 4.2 out of 5 stars from a small pool of 13 reviewers comes into play. Those numbers suggest that most owners are satisfied, but they also hint at a niche market. If you're a casual hiker who just wants a quick glance at distant scenery, a cheaper 2040 monocular might give you enough bang for your buck. The Mark IV really shines for people who need that extra reach and reliability. Think serious birders, wildlife photographers, hunters who want to confirm game distance, or anyone who spends multiple hours in the field and can't afford an optical failure. So who should buy it? If you already have a solid tripod, are comfortable handling a heavier piece of equipment, and you regularly need to see detail at 30-40, for example, you're tracking raptors, scouting terrain for a hunt, or you enjoy the precision of a high-end scope for nature photography, the Mark IV offers a combination of ruggedness and optical performance that justifies the price. Its lifetime guarantee also means